everybody. Abby Michelle here. It has been a while since I've hosted, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, Dr. Marlene Siegel, and I'm so happy to be here with you. I have been on the road a lot lately, so I was doing a lot of professional training courses and a lot of personalized treatment and trainings to go, and it's been absolutely amazing seeing all the transformations that everybody's been experiencing through the work that we do. And I know that you see amazing transformations on a daily basis with your precious little clients as well. So I am just so happy to be here with you again. I've missed you.
I've missed you too. Not that I don't love Darrell, but you're much prettier to look at.
Back at you.
Girl power.
Yes. So what's new with you?
Oh my gosh, there's so much going on. Our food is launched. Our pet fuel is launched. So we are live on that.
Awesome.
We've had our first Holistic Health Expo event in our new expo hall in
Beautiful.
Florida, which was amazing. Next year you're coming for sure.
Yes, I can't wait.
And we're getting ready to go to Toronto where we'll all be there doing
Yes,
total health.
I'm so excited. It's coming up here from April 12th to the 14th, and it's in Toronto at the Metro Convention Center. And we're going to be there. We have a booth, and I know that you're going to be there, and I'm so excited to finally meet because we've only met virtually. So it's going to be really amazing to finally come together and just share our knowledge with the world and get people
We'll have to
in
do
the
a
best health
Facebook
ever.
Live. What do you think?
Yes, definitely. We have to. Yeah, we'll do something there for sure. So I would just like everyone to know that if you can't watch our shows live, you can go to docofdetoxshow.com or to our Doc of Detox YouTube channel. And on our YouTube channel, you have the option of using closed caption, where the spoken words will come up on the screen in the language of your choice, no matter where you live in the world. So that's absolutely amazing. You can slow down the video if you think I'm talking too fast. And so we have some upcoming shows as well. So on Friday, March 29th, we're doing the Ultimate Fasting Guide. So Dr. Wolfe is going to be going over how we do our fasting. Monday, April 1st, the Ultimate Fasting Guide Q&A. And then on Tuesday, April 2nd, the Braveheart episode will be Do You Deserve to Heal? And today we are talking about nutrition to superfood nutrition for your pets. So let's jump into it.
Oh, I love this topic because it really is the foundation of our health and the health of our pets. I think nobody would disagree that right now we're seeing the most challenging health issues in our pets, let alone our own bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And I describe us as being in a state of surviving instead of a state of thriving.
Totally.
So I use the analogy of a car. Your car has certain essential nutrients, and if you don't put them in, like gasoline and tires and an engine, your car isn't going to go anywhere. What's different about our bodies as a machine is that we will try to adapt. We will go into survival mode, and our pets will go into survival mode when ideal circumstances aren't around, in hopes that if you can survive long enough that you can go back into a state of thriving when all of the things that you need are back being plentiful. Does that make sense?
Totally, 100%.
All right, so our pets are thriving. I'm sorry, they're surviving, not thriving right now. In fact, over the past 20 years, we've seen a decline in the longevity of our pets. Like, they are living anywhere from 8 to 11 years less than they were
Wow.
20 years ago.
That's so crazy. What is the main attribute, what's mainly attributing to that?
I think it's a combination of lack of nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
lack of quality water,
Yeah.
toxins overload,
Mm-hmm.
and just not really being able to eat a species appropriate diet and get the nutrients. And then of course the toxic overload
Right.
is just devastating, and it's devastating everybody, even the microbiome of the earth, right? It's not just about our bodies. We live on a planet.
Yeah.
So Alyssa, my daughter, and I were sunbathing out on our driveway the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and I flipped over, and then my whole yard is a garden, so I call it my garden.
Beautiful.
And I was just laying there watching the bees coming in because the Spanish needles are blooming right now. We have all kinds of fruit and vegetables, and just it's amazing plethora. It looks like a food forest out there.
Wow.
And I'm watching the bees as they're just going from plant to plant and pollinating, and it was just gorgeous to watch. And then I was working on one of my beds, and as I was taking the mulch and the compost, as I dig the shovel in, it is just living with all of these gorgeous red earthworms. And I just, for a moment, just really stopped to appreciate the amount of life that
Mm-hmm.
was being produced just in the garden and how much productivity was coming out of that because the microbiome of the earth was being sustained and therefore the plants were happy. And of course, then I eat those plants and I'm very happy.
Yeah.
And it was just beautiful to watch. But it's a whole ecosystem.
Yeah. And
And that
that's
same ecosystem lives inside of us.
totally.
So when we take care of our bodies and we give our bodies and our pets' bodies
Mm-hmm.
the nutrients that it was really designed to get, it goes back into thriving,
Mm-hmm.
not just surviving.
Totally. And that's, if you look at the world today, what we put in our bodies, the food's toxic, we're taking toxic prescription drugs, antibiotics, whatever else it might be, painkillers, steroids, anti-inflammatory medications, all of that's disturbing our microbiome. And then when you look at the planet, all of the toxins they're spraying on the soil, all the toxins they're spraying in the air through the chemtrails, through everything else, that's completely disrupting the microbiome of our planet. So everything is just in disarray right now.
Yeah, and we need to do something about that. Um, there's some statistics that Dr. Zach Bush shares that was done by a World Health Organization in conjunction with two universities. And this study was a 44-year study. It just ended in 2016. And they discovered that there has been a reduction of 58% of the world's vertebrate species. Now, vertebrate species have a spine.
Wow.
58% reduction of the vertebrate species on the planet in 44 years.
That is absolutely just not okay. That's
Yeah.
such, like, I remember hearing about in school all of the most amazing species like cheetahs and the leopards and all these different species. And I guess it would have been, I don't even remember what class that social, no, I don't remember what class that would have been.
Biology.
Biology. I don't even think it was called that in elementary school, but whatever class it was that, I guess it would have been science in those lower grades. That's all they called it. But I remember hearing about all these, and now they're all over the news that they're going extinct. And I'm like, my children are never even going to know what these are. And that's just
Mhm.
devastating to me.
Yeah, when a population reached 70%, 72% reduction, they are in risk of extinction.
Wow.
Yeah, we're getting
Wow.
really close.
Yeah. So just imagine what that's doing. Like, we're adapting so much easier to different things, but all of these special creatures, they're just not being able to handle the toxic overload that's getting dumped onto them.
Absolutely. So I wanted to talk about super nutrition today because I think if we can educate people on what nutrition actually is, then they're going to be a better discerning pet parent and of course for themselves as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to put something in your body, make it count, right? There's only so much space.
Totally.
So we want to make what we put into our bodies and our pet bodies count. We want it to be something that actually adds to the system. And if I can go back to one more little analogy, because this is really important. Imagine that you're living with a roommate and you have this wonderful symbiotic relationship. Everybody gets along, you're doing really well, you support each other. And then one day, God forbid, your roommate decides they hate you and they want to kill you. And then they spend all their time trying to destroy you.
All right.
What would you do in response?
Well, you get out.
You get out or you fight
Yeah,
back, right?
yeah,
You're going to try to survive as
totally.
well.
Yes.
Well, that represents what we are doing to the microbiome of our bodies, our pet bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and the world.
Yeah.
So I want people to stop looking at bacteria and fungi and all these organisms. They're not our enemy. They're actually 10 to 1 more of them than there are our human cells.
Right.
So we can't survive without them. We can't survive without bees. We have to have these microorganisms within our body in order for us to even survive, let alone thrive. So we need to have a shift in attitude. We need to be waking up in the morning and going, how can I feed my microbiome? How can I take care of the friendly flora
Mm-hmm.
that is helping me to survive?
Yeah.
And what can I do for them to help them be thriving so that in return I can be thriving?
Totally. And
So
go ahead.
I want to segue into our conversation with that understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we're going to talk about right now is the ingredient labels on a lot of the pet foods,
Okay.
right? Because
Yeah.
people really don't know what's in the food that they're feeding. And the first thing I want to help people to do is start reading your labels. Okay, that's huge.
Yeah.
If you start seeing names of things that you cannot pronounce and they come from a synthetic source, if you are not sure if the vitamins and minerals in the diet that you're feeding is synthetic, call the company and ask them. I think they have to give you disclosures. And all you have to do is find out, are the vitamins and minerals synthetic or are they natural?
Right.
Because your body doesn't know what to do with synthetics.
Yeah. It's
It
just,
takes those nutrients and goes, what is that?
yeah.
And,
And it's
and so you
confusing.
really don't get the benefit of it.
Yeah.
It actually adds stress to the body.
I was just going to say, your body's going to try to get rid of that just like it's a foreign object because it's
Yes.
like, what are you putting in me? I don't know. I
Right.
don't recognize that.
And if it can't get rid of it, it's going to store it in your fat.
Right.
And then it's going to, because it has its own energy, so it's going to be vibrating and giving off disruptive energies instead of those that are harmonizing energies.
Right.
And we start seeing more and more of that dis-ease. So we do bioenergetic scanning here. And what that means is that we take the DNA of the animal that we're doing and we run it through a bioenergetic scanner, and it tells us what are the excesses, what are the deficiencies, what are the priorities that the body needs in order to restore itself to balance.
Amazing.
And I will tell you, over 85% of the animals that we test, they're eating processed foods. They are deficient in vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids and aminos.
Wow.
So your amino acids are the building block of the protein. So when you eat protein, you don't just eat a steak and your body miraculously does something with that. It has to break that steak or the chicken or whatever protein you're eating. It has to break it down to the elemental unit, that individual amino acid. And that's the amino acid that's taken up into the body, stored, and used building blocks for other stuff. And I'm finding that so many of these animals are deficient in these things. Now, they're meeting AFCO standards. It says on the label that it has all these vitamins and minerals in there, but the body isn't able to utilize them. And so these animals are showing up with tremendous deficiencies. And I don't know if you've heard this definition of cancer, but this is what I've heard for the last several years, is that cancer is a deficiency disease with mitochondrial dysfunction. The mitochondria are the powerhouses that run the cell. So not only are you deficient in the essential nutrients, which run all your biochemical pathways, but then the production of the energy that it takes to run your body is also disrupted. So now you don't even have the building blocks and you don't have the power to run your body. Of course, you're going to deteriorate.
Totally. Yeah. And when you don't have that energy, your cells just don't know what to do. They're going to stay unhealthy. They're going to mutate into something worse to protect your organs from developing into something else. And then you just never know what could happen. So we need to boost that energy up. We need to get the proper nutrients into us so that the body can just balance itself back out.
Yes. When we put animals on super nutrition, it's like watching a miracle occur. And I don't say that lightly because I don't really like to use the word miracle.
Yeah.
It's not a miracle when you do what the body needs.
No, not at all.
It's the normal process, right? But we think of it as a miracle because we see this absolutely amazing transformation. And really, it's just the body going, thank goodness, you finally gave me something I can work with. Here you go.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And we think it's a miracle, but it really is. It's just basic nutrition.
Yeah. And the difference with animals and humans is that we have a conscious mind. So we are consciously and subconsciously making decisions that can be either taking down our health, but we can't figure that one out. But animals, we're the ones who are kind of making that decision for them. Am I right? So we're taking their health down by not being aware and really taking notice. And that's why it's so wonderful that everybody has you to guide them with how to take care of their pets, because so many people just think, hey, it's pet food, I'll just give them this is what's right. Or, hey, I'm eating this piece of pizza, they can have it too. But really, that piece of pizza you shouldn't be eating either.
Absolutely. I get a kick out of when people go, well, I don't feed my animal table food. And my question is, well, what do you eat? Because if you're eating healthy, organic, nutrient dense food, not such a bad thing for the pet, and is it raw or
Right.
not?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
absolutely, people are just, we have been growing up for the past, what, 20, 30, 40 years being, being driven down a path of thinking processed foods is a species appropriate diet.
Yes.
We're taught that in veterinary school. People have been for long, long time used to going to the store and buying bags or cans of pet food.
Yeah.
And yes, it's convenient, and yes, it's inexpensive. However, it's not species appropriate. So here we are feeding our animals, those precious animals that trust us and rely on us to take care of them.
Yeah.
And that all pet owners take that as a serious responsibility.
Yes.
Like there's no, people come into my office and they go, I am feeding the most expensive kibble.
Yeah.
And they really no, and in their sincerity,
Yeah.
they really want me to know that they care enough and that they're trying to do the right thing and that they're buying the most expensive products.
100%.
And they have no idea that they're being duped.
Every
They have
person,
no idea.
every friend of mine or family member of mine that are pet owners, they take better care of their pets than they do themselves because they
do.
love that little creature more than anything. So people
Right.
do want the best for their pets. They just aren't sure. They're unaware that they're not doing the right things when they are feeding them the kibble or the just standard pet foods. Like
Right.
even growing up, we gave my little puppy Caesars. That's what we fed her, and we thought that was like the cream of the crop. But yeah, you just don't
It's
know
just
until you
paradigm
know.
shifts.
Yeah.
You know, the whole food industry has changed so markedly from us, let alone from our pets.
Yeah.
But in the past 20 years, since the introduction of glyphosate and all the hormones, insecticides, pesticides, it has really adulterated their food in a huge way. So we can't be ignorant any longer. We have to be able to start taking control because it's not just our pets and it's not just our bodies. And I'm going to come back to the earth because as we eat these things and as we pee and poo them out, that's going into our water system. That's going into our land again. That's getting recycled as we bury things and they go back into the earth. Those toxins are not going away. They're building up at astronomical levels.
Totally.
So all of this, I really want to impress upon people that it's not just about you. It's not just about your pet. It's about the responsibility that we have to the entire planet on how we are making decisions and choices. So when it comes to what you clean your house with, right? Pick something that is healthy cleaning versus something that is toxic cleaning.
Totally.
We don't use that blue stuff that you spray on the windows that you cleans the glass.
There's so many better ways. Yeah, you can make your own household cleaning ingredients. Like there's no need to be going and using these toxic chemicals. I use essential oils, vinegar, baking soda. Those are some of my absolute favorites. And I know I'm not doing any harm to my body through inhaling any toxic fumes, but I'm actually creating more of a healing environment, and same for the whole planet. So we all need to really take responsibility of all of our actions and really be consciously aware of everything that we do. What are we doing, like you said, for the whole planet, for our bodies, for our pets, for everything, because it's all like the ecosystem. We are all one.
Absolutely. So here we are talking a lot about cancer, and we forget that there's other diseases out there.
Yeah.
So I found, just published yesterday, that the Association for Pet Obesity, who knew there was an association for that?
Who knew?
Said that 60% of cats and more than 55% of dogs are overweight or obese.
Wow.
That is a horrifying number. And of course, I see that every day.
Yeah.
There are a lot of our cases that once we get them on better nutrition and they start losing that weight, we take videos and stuff and we lovingly say they lost a dog. You know, you take a 130-pound dog that loses 40 pounds, they've lost a dog.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Looks like a whole new little creature. The energy of that animal must just skyrocket after losing that much weight.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how to select a good diet. How's that? Because I know we've talked a lot about what not to do, but I don't think we've really focused on any of them on how to select a good diet.
Right.
So the first thing I would teach people is to consider a species appropriate diet. So what does that mean? Mm-hmm. Well, if you watch National Geographics, or for those older ones of us who remember Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom with Marlene Perkins, we watched wild animals that were not governed by humans, and they ate their natural prey diet. So lions and tigers would chase down a gazelle, they would kill it, they would feast on it, they ate organ meat, they ate some of the intestines as they degutted that animal, which gave them the rich probiotic dense nutrients, and they got their carbohydrates, but they were pre-digested in the intestines of the herbivore that they just ate.
Right.
And they ate it in the state that they killed it in, which means that the food that they were eating was enzyme rich. Enzymes are the proteins that live in our cells, and they help to break that food down into its elemental pieces, but they are denatured if you heat the food over 105 degrees.
Right.
So when animals are eating food in the wild that they just killed, they're getting all that rich enzyme to aid in the digestion.
Right.
So interestingly, dogs and cats do not have amylase in their saliva. That's the digestive enzyme that is in our saliva that aids us in breaking down carbohydrates. So if somebody says, oh, well, that's a natural part of their diet. No, it's not. If that was a natural part of their diet, they would have amylase in their saliva, because then they would have been designed to eat that, but they're not.
Right.
So sadly, there's 40 to 60% sugar in most of our processed diets for pets.
Yeah.
And you can calculate that. It's not going to be listed on the label. They don't list the carbohydrate content. What they do is you take 100% and you minus out the protein, the fat, the moisture. The ash content isn't listed, but it's usually between 6 and 8%. And what you got left is your carbohydrates.
Right.
So you can look at your bag and figure that out. It's horrifyingly huge when their natural diet is supposed to be about 1% carbohydrates.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, so step number one, are you feeding a species appropriate diet? Does it look like what they would have eaten in the wild, with a mixture of meat, fat, organ meats? Organ meats are very important, and bone. There has to be a good calcium phosphorus ratio in there. And then the next thing is that meat grass-fed or free range? So we don't want to get all of the waste products of the meat, bad stuff coming from the human processing side, where those animals are stressed, they're being fed genetically modified ingredients, because then you're just taking that in. So just like we would eat a grass-fed meat, we want to do that for our pets as well.
So can you get that from, like, where, if you were a meat eater, can you buy your pet the same meat, or should you be getting a specific type of like raw meat made for pets?
So what we did, and great question, thank you for asking that. So I did two things. I had somebody create a food calculator for me. So if somebody were to call me up and say, listen, I don't want to get anything commercial, I want to make my own pet diet.
Right.
We would still want that diet to be balanced, right? So I would have them go over what meat sources that they want to use, if they have access to free range chicken or turkey or beef or fish or whatever that is. They pick their protein sources, and then we help them to pick the fat sources that need to go in, because they have to balance a diet with a right proportion of fat. And then we have to get the bone meal in there somewhere, so we help them with that. And then the organ meat. And then based on that, we can calculate the individual animal's nutritional requirement and put that together so that they know how many ounces or grams of each of those ingredients they need to feed in order to create the balance of the diet.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Totally.
So I would not suggest going to, we have Publix. I don't know if you have Publix there, but I would not suggest going to the grocery store and buying a chicken breast and just defrosting it and throwing it on the ground. First of all, they have salmonella, E. coli. These products aren't being shipped well. They've been frozen and defrosted and frozen and defrosted multiple times by the time you buy them at the store. That's why they say only freeze it one more time. And so the quality of those products really aren't there.
Right. Okay.
The diet that I created, and I did it in a way where I could separate the macronutrients from the micronutrients. So your macronutrients are the meat, the fat, the organ meat, and the bones. Okay. So kind of consider that in one pile. Now, traditionally, we've been just mindlessly buying food that came with all complete, all balanced. But now think about that. What vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids are you going to mix in that food to make sure that the quality of those ingredients are the highest that they need to be? Those are the ingredients that run all your metabolic pathways. So they are really important. And they need to be in the right proportion,
Mm-hmm.
and they need to be in a natural base because we don't take synthetic materials like we talked about in the beginning and
Right.
utilize those.
Right.
And then the fatty acids, oh my gosh, that is really huge because most people are taking fatty acids and they're rancid.
Yeah.
Any fatty acid that's exposed to oxygen is going to become rancid.
Totally.
So as soon as you open the bag and it's exposed to oxygen, you have rancidity starting, and that's more toxic than none at all.
Yeah. 100%.
So,
You can
so
even smell it in some oils sometimes.
oh, it's
Like,
horrible. And
oh,
then for people, you burp them back up again.
oh
That is
yeah,
a clear indication that that is a rancid fat. Like,
totally.
do not do that.
Yeah.
All right. So we have our macronutrients, which we just talked about. Whether you purchase a product like mine, where we've balanced those nutrients in two different blends, we have a keto diet for those animals that have health challenges, diabetes, seizures, um, cancer. Oh, I got to tell you about a diabetic case that we have right now.
Okay.
This dog was on ridiculously high levels of insulin, and they couldn't keep the dog managed. We got him on a keto diet. He's on his third week. We have already cut his insulin down by almost 50%.
Oh my goodness. That's so
Yes.
amazing.
Yes, and just on a keto diet. So
That's
it's
wonderful.
so exciting. I'll have to give you an update on this dog. Maybe
Yes.
I'll get them to come on the show one time and we'll
Yeah.
feature them, or I'll do a story on them
That'd be
because
great.
fantastic owners. They love their pet and they are so, so excited. They came in because they wanted to be able to either get them totally off of insulin, that's their goal,
Yeah.
or to at least be able to lower it because they were at such high levels. It was crazy.
Wow.
But they were feeding sugar, right?
Yeah.
Here you are trying to get the sugar down and they're feeding sugar and they didn't know.
Yeah.
So they're very exciting to see that. All right, so we have our macronutrients, and then I separated my micronutrients, and I got a company, the most fantastic company on the planet that makes the best human nutrition, to make my pet fuel, which is a combination of the vitamins, minerals, and superfoods that the body needs, antioxidants, or things that reduce inflammation, that are pro helping the body to repair, and that becomes a separate product. So we can literally choose how much an animal gets based on their body weight or their nutritional needs. And we know it's fresh and it's clean so that the owner takes the amount of meat that they need to feed based on how we calculate that.
Yep.
And then a correct proportion of vitamins and minerals. And then they mix that together. And our fatty acid is in a buffalo gelatin capsule. So it remains absolutely fresh until you open it and pour it over the food or let the animal chew it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have completed what they need for their nutrition. For a lot of our patients, we have to put them on an amino acid supplement as well.
Okay.
We do the quest and we see what they're deficient in, and then we are able to supplement. For people who have animals that are picky eaters or that have a really poor microbiome or that are very sick, cancer patients that are really not taking the nutrition, they're not able to digest their food well, let alone be able to absorb it.
Mm-hmm.
We can take our pet fuel, the aminos, and the fatty acids, and we can mix them into a little bone broth or kefir and syringe that in and know that that animal has now gotten all the nutrition that they need for the day.
Beautiful.
And more.
That's amazing. That's so good to hear that people can really take control of their pet's health now. Because so many people, like I was saying, it's just they're not sure where to go or what to do. And we need to get the word out there that this is the answer.
Well, I think that we're going to start seeing trends now for the pet food industry because more and more companies are starting to see that their dollars are going in a different direction.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked before about how important that is for peer pressure and for consumer pressure, right? If we don't demand it, they're not going to change.
Yeah.
Remember we talked about the food industry?
Yes,
We
totally.
just got an Earth Fair a couple miles from my office now. Oh my God, I live in that place. I love it. So it's all organic. You know, they have great food and they don't allow yucky stuff in there. And oh my gosh, we go in there and get fresh juices and it's amazing.
The best. Yeah. We need more places like that. And it's coming. You see it popping up on corners more and more. So
it is coming.
Yeah.
I go into that store at 10 o'clock at night and it's packed.
That's amazing.
That shows how much people were really looking for that.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful thing. And the more we demand it, the more knowledgeable we get, the more that we are good consumers and
Mm-hmm.
purchase the things that, that really goes upstream to who's going to make the shifts.
Yes.
We're seeing
And
more and more organic products that are in the stores.
yeah. And the more you connect back to our roots and eat organic, eat local, eat whole plant-based foods, you become more aware of these things. You start to see things differently. Your spirit becomes more awakened, and you can perceive things in a different way. And when I first started, I didn't know that that would happen to me. And that's probably
Mhm.
been the most amazing shift, is finding that awareness to make this world a better place.
Yeah. Want to mention a little bit. I think we covered the nutrients pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit on how we are supposed to feed our animals. Okay, we talked about what to feed them.
Yeah.
Now, animals in the wild, I always come back to nature. How does
Hmm.
nature do it? They eat at dawn and they eat at dusk. They
Right.
do not graze all day long. Our ancestors for us didn't graze all day long either. Food was kind of in scarcity.
Yeah.
So our animals were truly designed to eat at dawn and eat at dusk. And that fasting in between is a critical component for being able to digest and
Hmm.
also to rest the digestive system.
Right.
So when pet owners think they're doing something kind because they're working all day long and they want their animals to never go hungry, and so they leave the bowl full of all this kibble, and
Yeah.
all day long they're coming back and they're grazing. They are just, oh, breaks my heart. They're really in love. They're doing the worst thing they can for their pets.
Yeah. And that's even, have you seen that commercial for that camera? And then you can like push a button and it sends your pet a treat when you're away.
No.
There's like a little camera that you can set up on your table. And if you're like on your computer, you can check in on your pet at home, which is cute. But there's a button that you can push and it like launches a treat at them.
Oh my
Which
gosh.
it's cute, but that's not the best for your pet.
Please make sure it's a raw organic treat and
Yes.
it has nutrition in it if you're going to do it. But
Totally.
you're right. You're better off not doing something like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think we need to cover? Was that pretty thorough? Do you have any
I feel
callers?
like that was really good. Has there been any callers, or have we covered everything for everyone? Okay. No callers. I personally don't have any other questions for you, but I've just been absorbing all your information as always, and it's just so wonderful and so thorough. And you really are doing everything that you can to make this planet and our pets and all of the little creatures on this planet more beautiful and healthy. And I love that.
Well, I didn't get a chance to actually publish the fact that we were doing our show today, so my bad. But
It's okay.
but this is going to be posted on YouTube, so they're going to see
Yes.
it later.
Yep.
So are we are? Can I make a plug for our product?
Go for it.
Okay, because I know Darrell would ask me over and over and over again. I was like, oh, it's not ready
Yes.
yet. But now I have a landing page that people can go to. It's called Evolve Raw, but I need to spell it because it has a special meaning to it.
Okay.
So it's EVOLOVE. It's love spelled forwards and backwards.
Okay.
And so it's evolveraw.com. EVOLOVERAW.com. And when they go there, there's a food calculator so they can actually put in some information about their pet and will help guide them to the right diet that they should be feeding, which of our two blends.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to mention about our diet, in addition to being species appropriate, in addition to being really designed for the metabolic needs of the pet,
Yeah.
healthy pet versus challenge pet. The other thing that we did is we do HPP, which is high pressure pasteurization.
Okay.
There was a raw food company in the news the last couple of days because some of their food tested for salmonella. And that's a pathogen that can be a problem for people.
Mm-hmm.
So we really do want to be careful that the meat that we're feeding is clean. If it didn't come off your own farm and you're not really sure about the sourcing, HPP is a really important, in my opinion, way of cleaning out the E. coli, Listeria, and the salmonella so that the animal is eating a clean and healthy diet.
Okay. Wow. That's really good
Does
to
that make
know.
Yeah, another
I
reason not to just throw down the piece of chicken for
Yeah,
garlic.
yeah, definitely. One thing I do know, some people who will crack like a free range organic egg and they'll put it on their pet's food. Is that okay to do?
Well, yeah, it's fine if you want to do an organic egg.
Yeah.
Um, the pet fuel that we have, our vitamin, mineral, and fatty acid supplement, that is so powerful as a superfood nutrient
Mm-hmm.
that if somebody couldn't afford to, let's say, feed raw,
Right.
if they could add a little raw, 25 to 50%, and they were able to add our vitamin, mineral, and fatty acid supplement,
Mm-hmm.
they would see an extraordinary change in their pet's thriving health just from that. And I already
Okay.
mentioned that for our sick
Right.
patients, they just dissolve it and syringe it in, and these animals do so much better.
Amazing. And I guess we do have a caller now, so we
Yay!
sparked somebody's interest. A caller, we can take your call whenever you're ready.
Hi, Abby. It's Hope. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
I have a question about my cat.
Okay.
We switched our two cats from kibble to wet food. I've been watching your shows now for a while, and we switched them to wet food, and then something happened with the flavor profile, and my cats wouldn't eat it. So what ended up happening, our female cat, we've tried so many different things. She's not acting right. She actually is not eating very much. It's she's acting very strange, like she's sick.
So I missed what you said about you were feeding kibble, you went to canned food, and then you said something happened, and I missed what you said.
Well, the flavor profile or something, we got like a bad batch of
Okay.
There be
the
some food
canned
poisoning?
food. Like I was actually waiting for your food to come out,
It is
and because I
out.
wanted, yeah,
So
I really wanted to check into it.
okay, so let's talk a little bit, and that's a very broad question that you asked. And of course, the first thing you want to do is make sure that they aren't sick. You know, you want to find a very good
Yeah.
veterinarian who can do a thorough workup and make sure that there isn't an underlying health challenge going on that actually contributed to the not eating, because that's step number one. Step number
Okay.
two is once you determine that there's no serious underlying disease, here's how I recommend, particularly for cats making that transition. Because remember, canned food is still processed food and it still has high
Yeah.
carbohydrates. It still has um, no enzymes. It's still enzymatically dead. And if it's not organic, you're still going to have a lot of chemicals and pesticides and such coming into the body. What you've done is you've increased the water content, which is very important, but everything else is still not bueno. Okay. So
Okay.
when we transfer cats, the first thing that I tell people to do, even before they change the diet, is only feed morning and night. That's really the very first step. They have to learn that they're only going to get fed in the morning and they're only going to get fed at night. Okay.
Okay.
And then
Yep.
and nothing in between. You know, you let them eat as much as they want in the morning and at night, but you're not going to give them anything in between. They should be crawling up your leg by evening time going, where is dinner? Okay. That's a good thing. Uh, the
Okay.
second thing that you want to do is very slowly start introducing the raw food. So I would start with truly a smidge. I don't know if that shows up. A smidge, a tablespoon. And you mix it really thoroughly in what they're used to eating. If they stop eating because of the tablespoon, then you use a teaspoon, right? You're just going to find the amount of food that they're going to eat that they don't balk at it, because cats are very habitual creatures. They're used to their thing, and manufacturers know that. So they literally lace these foods like the tobacco industry. So these animals become addictive to taste and texture.
Mm,
So we got to
Oh,
train
yeah.
them off of something to something else.
interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
This particular situation, again, provided there's nothing serious in the underlying diseases, would be a perfect situation to use the pet fuel and the aminos, because you could syringe that in. Now they're getting super nutrition. And remember that microbiome that said that we have to build them up and we have to make them really strong and healthy? Now we have
yeah.
that opportunities to start feeding the microbiome, even if the animal isn't really wanting to eat the meat yet. And then,
Okay.
of course, your probiotic, which I always recommend either a fermented vegetable mix. You can just use the juice, or we use kefir, which is fermented milk. You can use fermented goat's milk, but you got to get some bacteria in their gut because they're not eating the intestines out of their little mice anymore. Okay. So that's what we covered so far was feeding them twice a day at dawn and dusk. Here's just another little tip that really helps a lot. If you can play some kind of a hunting game with them, whether it's a fishing pole or a laser light, right before you feed them, you get them excited about hunting something, right? And that actually releases a lot of their digestive juices and their hormones so that they're more hungry and they will digest their food better. Just a little fun trick. And it makes it fun to play with your cat, especially the laser light, they're going all over the place. So that's a really good trick. And then use your fuel to make sure that they're getting their nutrients in, make sure they're on a probiotic. Even if you have to syringe it in the beginning, once you establish that microflora, they are going to take off from there. And then each time that you introduce a little bit more of the raw food, you decrease a little bit of the old food. And you keep doing that until very slowly to the tolerance of the pet until you have them totally off of their old food and onto the new food.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah. So nutrients, your vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids, your probiotics, and then slowly transitioning through the meat. One more tip I'd like to add on the meat. Of course, it comes frozen, and then you have to defrost it in the refrigerator. But I do encourage people not to cook the meat, but to put it like in a double glass where the meat's in the glass and you put the glass over some hot water so that the meat becomes more of body temperature or room temperature. It takes the chill out of it because their digestion is markedly improved when they're eating food at body temperature. Remember, their body's temperature is 100 degrees. Yeah. So if they have to start taking their metabolic energy to warm the food up before they can actually start digesting it, they're not going to maximize on that nutrition and they're not going to feel as good. So you again, you're not cooking it. Just take it in a glass bowl and set the glass bowl into some hot water and go do whatever else you have to do for breakfast and then just put it in their bowl.
Perfect. Great tips. I love those.
Yeah. You could also make bone broth. We love using bone broth. And if you make it or buy it from the store, you can warm your bone broth up and mix that into the meat. So you're adding a little bit more moisture. Please make sure it's not hot. You don't want them to burn their tongue.
Yeah. Well, I put a little bit of the Dr. Wolfe tea in their food. I mixed it in.
Okay, I'm not sure what's in the tea.
It's milk thistle, blessed thistle, malva leaves, persimmon leaves, and marshmallow leaves. It
sounds marvelous.
Safe for pets. Yeah, it helps just cleanse out their digestive tract.
Sounds marvelous. Yeah, it does multi-organ cleansing. Yeah. Sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a whole course on detoxification. But step number one, you got to get them on a species-appropriate diet, and you got to get the nutrition in, and you have to heal the gut. And you have to do that before you start detoxing.
And if Hope's interested in getting your pet food, the website you mentioned before, that's where she can get that?
Yes, if she goes to the evolveraw.com, EVOLOVE.com, evolveraw.com, then we can, she can sign up for the pet calculator and I will respond. I just found out today, anybody who already did it and I didn't respond to them, it's because I didn't know where it was going. So I found out from my IT group today that it goes somewhere. So I will be responding by today. And there's a link to the food, and then we'll be able to give them the link to get the pet fuel as well.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. That's great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hope.
Oh, you're welcome. Good luck with Kitty. Where do you live? In Canada?
No, I live in Ohio.
Oh, well, come to Total Health.
She is.
I'm doing 2-hour lectures and 6 hours of workshops.
She's going to be coming, right?
I'll be up in Toronto. You'll be in Toronto, won't you?
Yeah, you're going to be coming for Total Health, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am.
So she'll be there.
Well, make sure you come to our workshop.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, yeah.
I signed her. I'm like, I signed her up. It's all good.
Oh, that's awesome, because in my workshop that I'm doing, we have the actual tools, the actual equipment that we use to treat our patients. And the owners, we're not going to do animals, but the owners are going to be able to come in and do a magnosphere treatment. They're going to get a detox sauna. They're going to be able to experience
Ooh,
Theragem, which is a light balancing. It's amazing stuff. So they're going to be able to experience all that.
that's so awesome that you're bringing everything. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, we'll have a
Wonderful.
whole
Oh,
system there.
Awesome. I can't wait.
oh,
It's going to be
great.
good.
Sounds
Awesome.
good.
Thanks for calling, Hope. We'll see you in a couple of
Okay,
weeks.
take care.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
Love
you,
you.
Hope.
Bye. Bye.
All right.
Oh, that was wonderful
Yes,
because she really brought up some great points.
totally.
Cats are the most difficult ones that we have to really be cautious at. In dogs, our old way of talking was, well, you put it down and eventually they're going to eat it, right? So
Yeah.
even if they don't eat for a day or two. And for a dog, that's okay. You
Yeah.
can't do that to a cat. I would never fast a cat more than 24 hours because they can get
Okay.
fatty liver disease.
Oh,
So we want to be really, really careful.
okay. Good
But
to
they,
know.
they should go at least 12 hours between meals.
Right. So still doing an intermittent fast, but not a
Basically,
full-on
that's what it is.
fast.
It's
Yeah.
intermittent fasting. Absolutely.
Amazing.
And it has so many metabolic effects, like we're learning on ourselves.
Yes.
But ancestrally, that's what they did
Mm-hmm.
to be able to thrive back in the day,
Yeah.
right? They didn't eat every 12 hours. They
No.
didn't graze all day long. They got up, they were hungry, they found something for breakfast if they were good,
Yeah.
and then they played and rested and slept and digested through the day, and
Totally.
nighttime came and they started to get hungry again, and they go out on the prowl, and they
Yeah.
hopefully would catch something. If they went
Exactly.
too long without eating, they didn't pass their gene pool on to the next generation.
Exactly. I know. I've been practicing intermittent fasting for 5 years now, and it's the best thing ever. Like, I remember when I first started, I was like, how am I going to go without breakfast? And I'm like, how did I survive with breakfast? Like, it's such a difference. It's incredible. And I'm actually starting my extended fast tomorrow. So I'm going to try to go for 9 to 12 days. We'll see. And that's
Ooh.
water fast. So I did a 7-day one last year. Absolutely amazing. So this year I'm going to try to up my game a
I'm
little
going to
bit.
have to do the challenge with you, I guess. We did a 3-day fast, my daughter and I,
Wonderful.
when I spoke at the Truth About Cancer.
Yeah.
We came home and she said, let's do a 3-day fast. And I'm thinking, can we start with a 24-hour? No, she was just jumping in.
Gung
And we
ho.
did a 3-day fast. And that first 24 hours, you realize how addicted you are to food. It's a habit.
Totally.
And the same thing with our pets.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. So as they start circling you and biting at your heels
Yeah.
and stuff, they're just addicted
Yeah.
to the eating habit.
So,
But truly, they don't have to have food 24/7.
and it's like
They
if you
really,
just cut
really do,
that
and it's
off.
not good for them.
Yeah, if you cut that off and continue to cut that off, they're going to create a new habit, just like with us. If we cut out our
Absolutely.
habits, we create a new
Absolutely.
pattern.
Yeah. And they'll
Yeah.
be so much healthier for it as well.
Totally.
Yeah, I typically eat between a 6 and 8 hour window.
Yeah.
And I used to graze all day long too. I started the day with breakfast, and then you
Yeah.
had your snack, and then you had your lunch, and then you had a snack.
Yeah.
And I remember the days when we ate like that.
It's
And I wasn't
wild.
heavier,
Yeah.
but I didn't feel as good. I didn't have as much energy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and I find if I'm eating like I try to even just stay away from grains for the most part. I'll have a little bit here and there, but if I have grains, I'm just so tired all the time. So I'm just like high vegetables, high plant protein, and fruit, and I'm good. And I'm like
oh, that's
thriving all day
awesome.
long. No, it's amazing, but it's crazy how much like when I was a kid, how much I used to eat versus now, and I'm like, oh my God, like how did that even happen? But when you're young, you're just more vibrant.
Well,
Your
your
energy's up
metabolism's
higher, so
higher.
you can do it.
Yeah.
But I'm really
But
glad I
it's funny
still
that
do it.
people think about how much they eat.
Mm-hmm.
And until they eat a nutrient dense diet
Yeah,
and they have a healthy microbiome, they don't realize how little food that they actually eat. Our
totally.
food bills went down by hundreds of dollars.
Wow.
And people do the same thing with their pets. They look at like an ounce or 3 ounces or 8 ounces of meat, whatever the amount of food that they have to feed their pet.
Yeah.
And they look at that and they go, that's all they're going to eat? Seriously? They're used to having a bowl of food.
Yeah.
And I said, no, they're eating this amazing amount of protein.
Quality
And
over quantity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're just amazed. And then they go, but it was gone in 30 seconds. And that's okay, because biologically speaking, animals are driven to eat meat when meat is available.
Yeah.
Right? Because if they were out in the wild and they finally killed something, which didn't happen all the time,
Yeah.
and they finally kill something, they have to stuff themselves until they can't put another bite in because they don't know when the next meal is coming. So they have to really take those reserves and hang on to them.
Right.
But in our modern day society, we're feeding our animals twice a day, or sadly more.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it to twice a day.
Yeah.
So they know that nutrition is coming. They're not having to eat to satiety. They're having to eat to their nutritional needs.
Totally. And that's how
Very
it should
different.
be. That's how it should be for all species. So
Absolutely.
we need to train ourselves to be that way and train our pets to be that way.
Yeah, I'm a lot less addicted to food than I used to be.
Yeah.
My comfort though is when I get home from work. That's still the nemesis time for me because
Yeah.
I want to walk in the door and I want my belly to have something in it.
Yeah, totally.
That's typically between 8 and 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my bad. But you know what? It is what it is.
It
As
is
hard
what
as
it
I
is.
work, I'm just going to let my body have
Yes.
that little.
Yes, you're allowed to have something. You don't
But
need
it's
to.
usually a protein.
Yeah, totally. Well, I started because right now I'm doing like my pre-fast, and so I'm just cleansing my body and just getting it prepared. So I've just been doing like rainbow salads, like every single color of the rainbow for all my chakras, and then I celery juice first thing in the morning before that, and then a salad. With avocado. So I've cut out my plant proteins just for these 3 days. So it's more keto. And then what am I doing after that? A protein shake with, or before the gym, and then another salad celery juice after the gym, and then another salad after.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
it's good, but yeah, I'm like, I feel like I'm ready. I feel like I can jump into it.
Well, when you come are you coming to St. Petersburg?
Yes, I'll be there too. Yep.
So you have to find a few minutes to drive up because I'm only about 45 minutes away from you.
Okay.
My avocado trees are covered in
Ooh.
blooms right now. So I should have avocados by the time you get here.
Oh, amazing. Well, I can't wait to try that because I'm sure your farming is absolutely amazing.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I feasted on mulberries this morning and loquats,
Oh, yeah.
and bananas will be ripe in about a week or so.
Oh,
And then
amazing.
what else? Gosh, there's so much food out there.
Oh, and to
Oh,
live in
Suriname cherries.
Yeah.
My Suriname cherry. I have a Suriname cherry. I guess it's a bush, but it looks like a tree.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely covered in fruit.
Oh my goodness.
Almost ripe. I'm getting there.
To live in a climate where you can grow all year round must be like the most amazing thing ever.
It
too.
is.
Yeah.
It is. And my hydroponic system is back up and running. So I have my tomatoes and some of my lettuces and stevia. I have a stevia plant.
Oh, wow.
My favorite. It's
Amazing.
wonderful. Yeah. Every night I make teas out of my hibiscus and lemongrass and lemon balm and rosemary
Wow.
and all my herbs. And I just put all that into a tea. And oh gosh, it's just heavenly.
Amazing. Well, you're going to have to give me some farming tips because that's something I need to jump on board with, which I encourage everybody to jump on board with that and start growing your own food because that's
Grow
the
herbs.
way to do.
Just start with herbs in a pot
Yeah.
in your window.
That's what I'm planning on doing right away. And I want to get a lemon tree because lemon trees are so cute. So yeah, that's my plan. Herb garden and lemon tree and start with that. So any final notes for everybody out there before we sign off for the night?
Well, just to recap, make sure you're reading your ingredient labels. Make sure you understand what's in the food. It's preferable to make sure that you're feeding whole food nutrition and preferably raw that has been either HPP'd or you know the source of the meat so you're not feeding any bacteria. And of course, support the microbiome. Make sure all the essential nutrients are there. And then on another show later in the year, we'll talk about detoxification. But start with the basics.
Beautiful.
And then hopefully we'll see people at Total Health.
Yes, definitely. Total Health, April 12th to the 14th. We hope to see you there. And we will also be in Kelowna for the Whole Life Coach certification, which is May 4th to the 10th. And then we do have the full certification going until the 24th. So the entire course is from May 4th to the 24th. And then we will be in St. Petersburg, Florida, starting June 9th. And we will be there until July 7th. So we can't wait to see all of you there. And I'm looking forward to coming and checking out your place as well when we're out there.
Awesome.
And thank you everybody for tuning in. And don't forget Friday, March 29th is the Ultimate Fasting Guide. So don't miss that because it's going to be amazing. All right. And that's tomorrow, I guess, already. Wow. end of the week. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, much love. Mwah.
If you're looking for life-saving and life-changing information, well, you've come to the right place. Don't forget to click and subscribe. Stay connected.